In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate the features, functionalities of a Word 2013 environment, and more importantly, we'll take a look at the various parts of the interface within this screen. Okay, so for instance, let's start with the top left side. Notice on the very top left, you'll see some icons. This set of icons essentially is called the Quick Access Toolbar. Okay, and the reason why it's called Quick Access is obviously makes sense because we can navigate to various tools and place various tools within this small toolbar on the top left side of the screen. Okay, and I'll demonstrate how to work with these in subsequent tutorials as well. But for right now, just the basic layout of the screen. So once again, this is our Quick Access Toolbar on the top left side of the screen. So as soon as you open Microsoft Word, you click on the blank document and you'll see this screen. The next area is the ribbon, okay, which is the main ribbon which contains various menu options such as your File tab, Home tab, Insert, Design, Page Layout, References, Mailings, Review, and View. So this area, which is known as the ribbon, contains various groups. And what is a group? So notice, for example, the first sort of rectangle called the clipboard is a group. And a group basically contains various tools that we can work with, such as cut, copy, format, painter, paste, and so forth. Similarly, the next group is the font group, which contains all the formatting options, such as your font size, styles, colors, and so forth. Moving on to our paragraph group, allows us to do various formatting within our document, such as moving text to the center, inserting bullets, and so forth. Then we have our styles group, which contains predefined styles that you can apply to your existing document, or you can create new styles as well. And then we have our editing group, which allows us to do some basic editing within our document, such as finding words, replacing text, selection, and so forth. So once again, the Quick Access Toolbar on the top left. Then we have our menus, the File, Home, Insert. Then our ribbon. The top right side moving towards the right side of the screen, you'll notice the little X, which means to close the document. Then you can restore down your document or minimize your document as well. The next two options are, for example, the help. So if you're looking for the Microsoft Word help feature, you can click on the question mark and it will display the help dialog box where help is shown regarding various tools. And this is the ribbon display options. So you can customize the ribbon by clicking on the ribbon display options such as auto hide, show tabs and commands. All right, great. Next is the ruler. So ruler is shown at two places within this interface. First, on top of your document, right here. And the second is on the left side of the screen, you'll see the ruler as well. Okay. Notice on the top of the side ruler, you'll see an option called a small square box, which has something like a symbol like L, right? So this is your tabs. So in other words, your left tab or center tab. So if I click on this, it will change these shapes. So this will be a right tab, for instance. If I click again, this will be a decimal tab, your bar tab, first line indent tab, hanging indent tab, and your left tab, and so forth. So by clicking once on this area will set your tabs. Okay, so we took a look at the ruler, top and the left side, and then the tabs area. All right, let's move down towards the screen. Notice on the bottom left side, you'll see page 101, which simply displays which page you are on, or your cursor is blinking right here, which is on the first page. So we are on page 101, and this document currently is a blank document, so it only contains one page. And 0 words, because I do not have any text right now within this document, so it shows me that there are 0 words within this document. And then my language settings. And this option right here is the macros. Okay, so for example, a macro is simply a series of automated steps. Okay, so for instance, if you need to record your steps and then later use them, we can create something called a macro. The right side, okay, moving towards the bottom again, the bottom right side shows you the zoom in and zoom out options. Okay, so for instance, I can click on the plus sign to zoom in within my document, or click on the minus to zoom out on my document, or I can simply use the slider and drag to the left or to the right to zoom in and zoom out. These three options, the web layout, print layout, and read mode, are simply different views that you can use to look at your document. So for instance, if I'm reading a book, or if I've opened a large document and I like to be in the read mode, so if I click on read mode, it will change the look of the interface. And notice it hides the ribbon and it hides the menus as well, and only displays the basic set of menus for me, and basically enlarges the screen so it's easier for me to read the document. The center option here on the bottom right again is the print layout. If I click on print layout, it takes me back to the original or the default interface. And then finally, my web layout. If I click on the web layout, it also briefly changes the interface and shows a larger ruler, for example, and hides the left ruler for me. And this is useful if you need to create, edit, or manage documents that later needs to be uploaded to the web. So let me click on the print layout one more time. It takes us back to the default setting. So we took a look at the quick access toolbar, the menus, ribbon, the ruler, tabs, and on the bottom where it displays the page numbers, words, language, macros, and then on the bottom right, the various layout options, and then zoom in and zoom out within your document. Just a basic interface. Next, let's take a look at each of these menus, what these menus are and what they do. So the ribbon basically contains multiple tabs, and each tab contains several group of commands. And we can use these tabs to perform most common tasks in Word 2013. So for instance, the Home tab gives you the access to some of the most commonly used commands for working with Word 2013, such as copying and pasting, formatting, aligning paragraphs, and choosing various document styles. Next, we have the Insert tab, which allows you to insert pictures, charts, tables, shapes, cover pages, and more to your document, which can help you communicate information visually and add style to your document. And each of these groups within the Insert tabs have various functionalities. The Design tab gives you access to a variety of design tools. So for instance, document formatting, we can work with special effects, we can insert page borders, which can give your document a more polished look. Page Layout tab allows you to change the print formatting of your document, including margin widths, page orientation, page breaks, and many other commands are available. And these commands are especially helpful when preparing to print a document. The References tab allows you to add annotations to your document, such as footnotes and citations. So from here you can add a table of contents, captions, and bibliography, and these commands are helpful when composing academic papers. We can also use the Mail Merge feature in the Mailings tab, which allows quick access to composing letters, address envelopes, and create labels. And these are helpful when you need to send a letter to many different recipients, or if you're working for an organization who wishes to send mass letters to thousands of customers, this tab will help you accomplish that. We can also use the Review tab to access Word's most powerful editing features, including adding comments to an existing document and tracking changes. So if there are multiple users, for example, working with the same document, each user can add comment to the same document, and these changes can be tracked easily using this tab. And these functions make it easy to share and collaborate in documents. The View tab allows you to switch between different views of your document, and the split screen to view two parts of your document So lecture 3 is about managing versions of documents. Microsoft Word uses its auto feature function to save documents as you write, insert content, or edit the document. So it automatically does that. The option related to automatically saving and recovering files are set on the Save page in the Word option dialog box, and you'll see what I mean by this. Notice, however, on the top left hand side, the File option is highlighted in blue as compared to all the other menu options. And the reason being that File is also known as the backstage view. Okay, this pertains to all the features and functions of your Word environment and documents, whereas the rest of the menu options like Home, Insert, Design, Page Layout, and so forth relate to your editing features and functionality within this particular document. Okay, so the auto merging versions of documents we'll take a look at, and also how Word uses the auto recover feature. Powerful feature. Sometimes what happens is you end up working with documents and you don't save those documents. This functionality allows to bring those documents back even though you have not saved them. Okay, so if you're working with this document, for example, and you say you want to close this document, and Word asks you, do you wish to save the changes, and you say no, I don't want to save it, that document can be recovered. Okay, it's a powerful feature. Let's take a look. So to use the auto recover feature, I'd have to go to the File menu or the backstage view. Here I have various options: info, new, open. Nothing new, same thing that you when you work with Word, you get to see these options. But I'm particularly interested in the info option, and under info I see you can locate the versions option, and under manage versions it gives you a couple of options here. One is to recover unsaved documents, and the other one is to delete all the unsaved documents. On the right hand side under properties, it gives you the properties of all the documents. You can look at the advanced panel or the advanced properties, okay, which is similar to show all properties. So under advanced I can look at the summary, statistics, contents, custom, and so forth. Let's get back to our versions. So under manage versions, we click on recover unsaved documents, where we can browse all the recent unsaved files. And as soon as I do that, I get a whole list of all these unsaved documents. And what's important here is to know that the file extension is .asd. Okay, so whenever you see this file extension, that means it's an unsaved file. Okay, so in my list I can pick and choose or take a look at which one of the files that I want to see or recover. Okay, I can open the file, or I can open a protected view, read only, as a copy, or open repair. So a couple of options available to me as I'm trying to recover the unsaved file. Okay, so I want to just open the file. I selected the file called, when you click OK in the combined doc.asd, and it opens the recovered unsaved file, and it tells me that this is a recovered file that is temporarily stored on your computer. From here I can simply save as, and I can save it as a document, whatever I want to do with it. So a quick example of how to recover unsaved files. Okay, so if you don't save anything, just go to the backstage view, go to versions, recover unsaved files, pick a file, and just click open, and it will open up the recovered files for you. That's all there is to it. As far as the auto recovery feature of Word goes, it's a powerful feature. Okay, one of the other options here under File is the Save option, or Save As. We're pretty comfortable with that. But I want to look at some advanced options. Here you can see on the left side in this Word Options dialog box, I have a general display, proofing, save, language advanced, and we'll take a look at in future lectures and tutorials. But right now I'm interested in looking at the save since we're talking about the autosave feature. Okay, so here's where you can customize how documents are saved within your Word environment, or the way you want all of your documents to save, and set some auto recovery options and so forth. So let's take a look. So for example, under Save Documents, I can save files in any format. The default format is the file extension is .docx, or I can pick any of these other options like rich text format, or Word 97, Word 2003 templates, macro enabled templates, and so forth. Okay, so these are how, once I set these options, these will be the default options once I start working with my documents. Here's something important: save auto recovery information. If you're working on lots and lots of documents on a daily basis, you may want to set this to maybe 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or if you're working in an environment where things are volatile, right? So things go down pretty quick, your server crashes often, or your computer hard drive goes, you may want to lower the number of minutes and set the save auto recover information to do that frequently. Another option, keep the last autosaved version if I close without saving. Okay, another very important. And here by default, the auto recover file location by default is again under your roaming profile, Microsoft, and then Word. Okay, a recall from one of the earlier lectures. So the only difference in this default location of autosave and templates is that instead of this Word folder, it will be template folder. Okay, so the default location for auto recover essentially is under Microsoft and Word subfolders. And I can click on browse to see where these folders are located. Alright, so a couple of other options like don't show the backstage when opening or saving files. Pretty straightforward. Show additional placing for saving even if sign-in may be required. Save to computer by default. And I can set a couple of default local file options. Set it up to be my documents folder, or you can change the personal template locations as well. So here you can set the save locations. If you are in a network environment working offline and your server is not available, a couple of options: you can save checkout files to make them visible to others, or you can make the check in the file even if the checked out file is saved to the web server. What this option does is basically when you're working on an active document and some other users tries to access this document, they're going to get a message saying that, hey, someone is using this document. You can either open it up as read-only or wait till the user finishes. So the server drafts location on this computer, or you can place it in your Office cache if it's just a standalone environment. And lastly, under Word options and save feature is embed fonts in a file. Here you can save fonts that are used in the document in the file. Other people who open the document can view and use the fonts even if they're not installed on their computers. Okay, so another good feature, especially if you're working in a global environment, for example, where multiple languages are concerned, or users use multiple languages to edit and type within their documents. So once you embed these fonts, the users will not have any problem translating or showing the character fonts on their screens. So just a quick rundown of the save options in the Word dialog options. And again, this is found under File, and I can click on the Options tab and it'll give me the Word options, General, Display, Proofing, and Save is something that we looked at. So in this tutorial you saw the auto recovery feature of Word 2013, and in addition we also took a look at various options in the Word options dialog box relating to how to save documents, how to offline edit options, and how to preserve and embed fonts within a file. With that, let's take a brief quiz to get some of these concepts reinforced. Lecture 4 is about organizing styles. Style is nothing but a predefined combination of fonts, color, and sizes that you can apply within your document. Styles can help your documents achieve a more professional appearance. Okay, so that's really what styles are all about. It's just a unique combination of font, styles, shapes, colors, and so forth. Style sets, which we will later look at in subsequent lectures, include a combination of headings, paragraph styles. So it's a little more advanced than just simply a style itself. Okay, so it's a group, it's a combination of titles, headings, paragraphs, fonts, the way you want your document to look like. Okay, so you can create sets. So we'll look at sets later, but this lecture tutorial is to show you how to create a style, how to modify it, how to delete it, and how it can make you more productive. We'll also look at the inspector feature in Word when we're working with styles, how to organize styles, how to import, export, and copy styles from one template to the other. So a little more advanced features regarding styles, and I'm sure some of these areas will be very, very helpful. So you specify which styles basically are displayed in the styles gallery, and that's how Word arranges styles in the styles pane, are the two ways you can organize your styles. So for instance, if you need to work within your style panes option dialog box, you can select an option for the group of style Word displays in the style pane, or you can display only a set of recommended styles currently in use, and they're available in document, or all the styles that you want to take a look at. You can also select a setting for how the list of styles is sorted. For example, you can list the styles alphabetically, or by type, or by font, or simply by ranking within the list of recommended styles. By default, however, the style pane shows recommended styles and sorts them as recommended. And the checkboxes in the select formatting to show as style option determines whether paragraph, font, and list formats appear in your style pane or not. So for example, if you select font formatting, the styles pane displays only those entries for the font colors used in that document. The show next heading when previous level is used checkbox is selected by default. This setting specifies whether Word will include entries for the subheadings in the style pane when the heading above that level is used. So for instance, if you use the heading 2 or heading 3 style in a document, Word shows that heading 3 style in the styles pane. And lastly, within this window, you can see two options on the bottom, which is only in this document or new document based on this template. What this means is if you click on new document based on this template is required, or if you want to apply the settings you specify in the style pane option dialog box to other documents that you create within the current template. In the style group up on the ribbon area is where styles are located. And notice on the bottom right hand side corner there's a little arrow, drop down arrow. You can click on that to give you a dialog box regarding styles. There's also a shortcut. You can go to your styles organizer by clicking Alt, Control, Shift, and S. Okay, so we'll take a look at shortcuts, and I'll give you a whole list of shortcuts later on in this course. But for right now, let's work with styles. So we click on the little drop down arrow, and it brings up our style window, which displays all the styles that we have at this point. Notice on the bottom we have a few options. We can either show preview, or we can disable linked styles. If we have linked styles, we can disable them so we can identify and isolate single styles. And secondly, a couple of other options. We have an options link here regarding styles. Brings up the style pane options for us. So this tells us that the select styles to show, which is generally the recommended by default again, and then select how list is sorted. So if I need to, for example, see which styles are currently in use within this document, I can click on in use, or I can take a look at in current document only, or I can list all the styles that I would like to see. And I can also sort it the way I want, whether I want to see the alphabetical list, or by font type, or based on paragraph formatting, font formatting, bullet number formatting, and so forth. So you can identify and work with options within the style pane options. So once I click on manage styles, it brings me in this dialog box where I can manage all the styles. I can also create a new style by clicking on the new style. And here I can give the style a name. So for example, if I need to name this Playdesk formatting, the style type, in other words, this particular style name will apply to which style type, whether I'm interested in formatting paragraphs, characters, linked paragraphs and character, table, list. So for instance, if I'm interested in creating the style that relates to tables only, I can click on the style type table and it will display a preview so I can take a look at the changes that I made to this table. Similarly, if I choose paragraph, then any paragraph that I select within my document, this style will apply to that particular paragraph only. So let's say I want a paragraph, I would like my paragraph to be in Times New Roman and font 12 size, and I want it to be underlined. So once I've selected my options, my editing options for my paragraph, on the bottom, notice I can add to the styles gallery. So in other words, this name will be added to the style gallery here for future use. I can have it automatically update, which will automatically set it to automatically update and show it in the styles gallery. And lastly, I can have an option where I'm creating this style which is specifically based on this document only, or I'm creating a new document based on this template. So if I'm working within a template and I'm creating a style, then any new subsequent documents that I create based on that template would have the style option. So in this list you will see that style option. Otherwise this style option will only apply to this particular document. Here are some additional format options that I can pick. For instance, I can click on paragraph and I need this paragraph to be, let's say, left indented, okay, about, let's say, 1 inch, and I want this to be right indented also to be 1 inch. Okay, so here again I can see the preview. Okay, so using this option I can select any of these editing features. I can create borders around the paragraph. So if I need a border, for example, okay, so listen. So once I'm done with the editing features of how I want my paragraph to look like within this style that I'm creating, and I've added this style to the styles gallery, and I've applied only in this document. Okay, so I click OK, and notice here's my style. And once I've created the style, it lists the style in the styles window and it shows me the details of the formatting. So the type of font that I'm using is 12 point, I'm using underline, and the paragraph indentation also. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a paragraph so we can see how we can apply this style. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to open my original document, and that's the same document that we've been using in earlier tutorials. From this document, and I'm going to bring it and paste it in this document. Okay, so let's see how we can apply. So we have created this style, and here's my paragraph that I like to apply this style to. Notice if I highlight the paragraph and I click on my style, it will automatically apply the style that I created earlier. So if you're working with large documents, or you have quotations, for example, within your documents, you can create a style within a particular document or based on a template, and then you can simply select a paragraph, click on the style, and boom, you have the style ready. So it saves you a lot of time as opposed to working with each quotation individually and trying to format it, underline it, create a box around it. That's going to take a lot of time. So style gives you a faster way of working, and that's the whole idea of working with advanced features in Word 2013, is because we want to know all these features so that we can enhance our productivity and work better. Okay, so we've seen how to create a style. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my manage styles, and here again I can see the style that I've created. I can modify it. So if I am not happy with the style, or if I need to change some of the formatting, I can simply click on modify and change it, or I can delete the style. Here's a cool feature, the import export. Okay, let's take a look at this. So within the styles manager window, I click on import export and it brings me the organizer window where I have a list of styles, and then I can apply the style to a certain template. Okay, so for example, if I need to apply this style that I've created, and I can copy it to the normal.m template, which is the default template in Word. I've simply added it to the Word normal template, which means that every time I open Word 2013, I'm going to have this style that I've created as part of the styles window. Okay, and it's going to show up whenever I look at styles within my default normal template. Okay. So it is as easy as just going to the import export and simply copying the style within your normal template, or you can pick up any template, close the file, select the template that you wish to save this style in, and boom, you're done. Okay, so I'm just going to copy it here in the normal template, and I'm going to close it. So we're having fun, right? Okay, with styles, great. Let's go to our style inspector. This really is nothing but shows you what type of style you're using, what does this style entail. You can reset the normal paragraph style, you can clear the paragraph formatting. The upper half of the style inspector talks about the paragraph formatting, and the lower part is about text level formatting. So for instance, if I change the underline text to italic, okay, and notice any difference between the style inspector. As soon as I hit italic, the paragraph formatting changes. Okay, the heading changes. Nothing happens to the bottom because the underline italic is a text level feature. Okay, so here my default paragraph font is currently set to none. Okay, so I can clear the font here. I can also create a new style from this window. And here's an important thing that I want to talk about, which is reveal formatting, a very powerful feature. Notice how we got to this reveal formatting. We went to style, then we went to reveal inspector, style inspector, and then within style inspector there's an option called reveal formatting. Okay. So reveal formatting simply tells you everything that you need to know about this particular style formatting. So it tells you all details. For example, what kind of font are you using, language, paragraph style, the alignment, indentation, and so forth. The benefit of using reveal formatting is you can compare this style to another selection. Okay, so for example, if I create another paragraph, which I'm going to go ahead and open up another document just so that I can get some text. Okay, now copy this, go back to my document, I'm going to paste it here. Okay, so you can see. So let's say I want to compare this formatting type with another selection, and the other selection is this. Okay, and notice as soon as I do this, it shows me first my original selection and then the one that I'm comparing it to. Okay. And on the bottom, it gives me the detail of the comparison. Okay. So for example, the Times New Roman font is used in my original paragraph, and then you see this little arrow here pointing towards another type of font, which is the Body Calibri, which is the bottom paragraph here. So whichever font that I would like to select, it compares the two. Same thing with italic and not italic, which means that my first half of the paragraph is in italics, and when I compare it to my other half, it is not italic. Similarly, underline to no underline. Okay. So very powerful feature when you're comparing indentation, borders, font, This gives you an idea of how to detect errors, for example, or find out whether you're following certain guidelines or not while you create tables or you work with advanced formatting. Okay? So reveal formatting is a cool feature, a very powerful feature in Word 13. So I'm going to go ahead and close these windows. So quick recap, styles group is listed on the ribbon. If I need to work with styles, I can click on the bottom right arrow or Alt Control Shift S. Keyboard shortcut, bring up my style. I can set the options, take a look at some of the options which we have, or I can work on managing styles, how to use the style inspector, and I can also create a new style that we've seen. Okay, so we're comfortable with working styles, what styles are, whether at paragraph level, font level, you can set these styles to work with. Okay, so this will be helpful when you're working with large sets of documents or working with advanced set of features. The whole idea is to shorten your work. So you want to use styles, create additional styles to enhance productivity. So I hope you've learned in this tutorial all about styles, how to delete styles, how to modify, create them, and use them for a short quiz. Alright guys, welcome to lecture 5, and this is going to be our last lecture within section 1. In this particular tutorial, I'm going to show you 3 things. I'm going to show you how to create macros, which automates certain processes. Then I'm going to show you how to link external files within your Word document. And third, we'll work with how to build blocks, okay, how to work with quick parts, and how we can work with or creating reusable content that we produce every single day. So the whole idea of working with all these different advanced features is to make sure that whenever you're working with Microsoft Word 2013 and wherever you work, whatever you do, you want to be able to create and use these features to your benefit. So again, 3 things we'll look at: macros, linking external files, and then building blocks. Okay, so let's start with how to create macros and work with macros. Okay, to record a macro, I'll have to go back on my ribbon bar under View. I see an option called Macros. Here I will click on Macro and Record Macro. Once I click on Record Macro, it asks me for a name, and we're going to create a macro that's going to insert a signature after every letter to make our life easier. So instead of signing the letter or writing sincerely, thanking you, etc., we are just going to create a macro that's going to do it for us. So let's take a look. So I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it signature. I can assign the macro to a button on the toolbars or as a keyboard shortcut. Okay. So I'll just click button. I'm going to assign this macro to a button. Here's my new macro that's going to be created. I'm going to add this to my custom quick access toolbar, which is on the top left side of the screen. So this toolbar is the quick access toolbar. Okay, so as soon as I click OK, it's going to place an icon up on my quick access toolbar. Okay, so I click OK, and notice macro. Now we're not done yet because we have to record everything. So as soon as I hit OK, notice the cursor changes with a little cassette recorder, which means that each step is now being recorded. So let's finish our letter with create a signature line. So we're going to say thank you for your patronage. Sincerely, John Doe, CEO. And I'm just going to make it bold and italicize. Okay, once we're done with this, we can simply go back and click stop recording, and it will stop the recording, and we've just created a macro. Okay. So let's see if I now wish to bring up my sample letter, just random letter here. And all I have to do is now click here on my macro in my quick access toolbar, and notice it inserts the macro for me. I can also modify this macro. I can go to macros. I can click my macro called signature. I believe that was the name that we created. I can run it, edit it, delete it, organize it. If I'm done with this macro, I don't want it, I can simply hit delete and it will delete the macro. Alright, moving on to the second part of this lecture tutorial, which is working with linking files. So for instance, if you're working with multiple peers, right, you're doing research and you're writing a book, or working with your research assignments or whatever, or at your workplace, you need, or writing a manual. Let's say you have multiple documents and each document is a separate chapter. And what you want to do is you want to create a single document, bring all the text from that chapter within the same document. So the hard-coded way is to open up all the documents and you copy or you cut from one document and you paste it in a single document, and then you do it. What if you have, let's say, 20 chapters? So Word has this wonderful, powerful feature called linking external files, which serves the purpose. But let's say I have this, and when I reach this part and next line, what I want to do is I want to link from another document directly. The way I would do this is up on the ribbon bar, insert, and under text group there's a feature called object. Now I'm not going to insert an object. I'm going to simply choose the text from file option. And once I do that, it brings up a dialog box. So let's say I want to, here's my chapter 2, or in this particular example, I'm going to link this with the original document that we've been working with in various tutorials. So all I have to do is just highlight document, click insert, and it inserts the text for me. So very simple, very powerful tool, and use it, practice it. And lastly, let's work with building blocks and working with quick parts. Again, just to make sure that we're going to be creating reusable content, right? So we're not hard coding in Word. We're actually using these features to our own benefit. So what are building blocks? They're again under the insert ribbon area. Under quick parts is where we can explore, create blocks, formatting content that we can use at all different times. So first, let's take a look at the building blocks organizer, which displays all these different types of blocks that are already created or built-in templates within Microsoft Word 2013. Building blocks are saved under the templates under Microsoft and building blocks folder. And let me show you that first before we get into building blocks, where they're actually saved. Okay, so I'm going to close this for now and I'm going to come back to this. First, let's see where this building block is stored. So I'm going to open up my Explorer. I'm going to go to my templates folder where all these templates are, and you've done this in previous tutorial. So I have to go to Microsoft folder, one level up, and here I'm going to locate folder called document building blocks. Okay, double click on that, double click on 1033 subfolder, and I'm left with two folders, 14 and 15. So building block templates are stored in subfolder called 15. Okay. So again, it's all the way to my templates folder under Microsoft, document building blocks, 1033 and 15. Okay. So here's the templates of my building blocks. So I just wanted to show you this so you know exactly where they're located. All right, let's look back to our building blocks. Under quick parts, here's my organizer where I can see all these blocks that are pre-built. Okay, and I have a whole list. I can sort the gallery here, and I can see, for example, the photos are all building blocks. Okay, these are all quick parts blocks. All right, so let's take a look at how we can work with it. Notice we cannot create a new building block from the organizer dialog box. So let's see how it's done. So I'm going to close this for now. I'm going to go back up to my quick part option, couple of ways I can do this. Before I can use this, I need to have some image or anything that I like to use as a quick part. Okay, so for example, and I like to use this as a quick part. Okay, so I'm going to select this. I'm going to click on quick part, and I'm going to select save selection to quick part gallery. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to add it to the quick part gallery, which brings up this dialog box. All I have to do is type a name. So I'm going to name it original. You can change or select a different gallery. Just organizing. By default, it's general category. Notice here it saves this particular quick part or building block in the template file called building blocks.dotx. We can store in building block templates, or you can use the default template normal.m, which is the default template. So I'm going to select the normal so it shows up in every single document, this particular quick part called original. My three options, the way I want this quick part to display or this block to display is as follows. First is insert content only, which means that it's going to insert just this highlighted part wherever my cursor is within the document. Insert content in its own paragraph, which means it's going to enter a new paragraph and insert the content. And third, insert content in its own page, which means that whenever I use this building block, it's going to insert this content in a new page. Okay, so it's going to add some section breaks and it's going to create a new page. So I'm going to choose insert content only because I'm going to reuse this particular all the time within my documents. So once I've selected the options of creating a new building block, and it's going to save this building block in my quick parts area. Okay. Now to see this building block, I can go to my building block organizer where this building block is, and I named it original. Okay, it shows me the preview also. You can edit the properties, which brings me back to the same dialog box that I earlier used to create this. Okay, and I can reuse this whatever I want. I can create a building block. Okay, so I hope this shows you how to speed up your work by creating chunks of contents, images, documents that you reuse every single time. So it's much faster this way. Okay, and this is done through quick parts using building block organizer or save selection to quick part gallery. I'm going to show you some feature called the auto text, which is really nice because it gives you shortcuts while you're working within your documents to create certain elements, insert images or whatever, and you can do that by, so for example, I have this but I don't want this part to be my auto signature. Okay, so the process is the same. I'm just going to highlight the text. I'm going to go up to my quick parts. It'll ask me to save selection. Okay, so it's just a short way of doing it, and it's the same thing. Notice this dialog box is exactly the same as creating a new building block. So whether you're using auto text function or the quick part while creating building blocks, it's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to create this building block. I'm going to call this signature. Okay, I'm going to save it in the gallery called auto text general, leave options as is. It asks me, do you want to redefine the building block entry? I'm going to say no because I'm going to keep my existing one. I'm going to call this just sig. Okay, I'm going to shorten it. So click OK and it creates one for me. So a couple of lines down, if I'm typing and I need to insert this block, once type sig and the F3 function, it's going to insert that block for you. Okay, so the shortcut to remember here is your F3 key, function 3 key within Word 2013. Okay, so it's going to insert the building block for you. We took a look at how to create macros, how to link documents. We also took a look at how to create building blocks, modify them, delete them, quick parts. So you're comfortable with some of the advanced features within quick parts. Okay, and linking objects and linking files. Okay, welcome to section 2. We'll take a look at how we can prepare our documents for review. In our first lecture, it's about setting tracking options. We'll take a look at how to set these tracking options, what these are, how do you track changes within your document, and everything that you need to know about this tracking option feature. Very powerful feature, so let's jump right in and take a look. Before I do, I'm going to open up my document with some random text. So let's see back to our document that we've been using earlier. Here's just a sample document. Our review tab shows us our tracking options under the tracking group. Okay, so we'll take a look at tracking group and also the comment group area. Okay, so these two are option features that we'll take a look at, okay, in this tutorial. All right, what this does is it simply allows you to track changes within your document. Okay, so whatever you do to this document, Word 2013 is going to keep track. If someone else does any changes, Word 2013 is going to keep track based on their author name. Okay, so if you have multiple individuals working on the same document making changes, all of them can be tracked by Word 2013. Okay. The way you bring up some of these options is by clicking on the bottom right side of the tracking group, and it pops up a dialog box called Track Changes Options dialog box. Here you can set some preliminary options. How do you want to track changes? For instance, what do you want to show on your document? You want to show comments, ink, insertions, deletions, formatting, pictures by comments. And notice how some of these options not available because there are no other authors. So right now I'm just the only one working on it, and that's how they're dimmed. Okay, so let's take a look at what will balloons show in all markup view. Okay, so it's going to show all the comments and formatting that I do, or just the revisions, or nothing. Okay, and we'll explore that, and you'll see how each of this option affects our document. Whether we want our review pane to be on vertical or horizontal. A review pane shows you all the changes that you made step by step within a document. Okay, and some advanced option and change username. Okay, before we let's come back to this. Okay, so we'll take a look at, once you see everything in action, it's much easier to take a look at what each of these options do to our document. So I'm going to cancel out of here. The first thing I have to do is just, before I keep track changes, I'm going to click track changes, and notice how it highlights this option, and I can begin my editing within this document. Okay, so let's say I want to delete this space. I like to make the Asian Development Bank bold. Let's say I like the economic in italic. And notice I'm using the keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so Control B for bold and Control I for italic. Okay, you can always use the option here under your Home tab. Okay, but learning shortcuts is good. Okay, what do we see now? What Word does is simply keep track of all the changes that I've made so far. Okay, so I've made essentially the font changes or the italic changes. On the right side, you'll see name and then what was changed. Okay, now notice this name here that you see is exactly the same as my online account at Microsoft. What if I want to change this? So let's say I wish not to use the same Microsoft account. I want to use my initials only, or my first name only. Okay, I go up to my track changes tracking group and bring up my options. Here I can change the username. So that's one of the first things that we'll see is how to change the username. So let's do that. So let's click on change username, and it brings me the Word options dialog box. And under general options, I can see how I can personalize my copy of Microsoft Office. So here I've set this username to be Syed, and my initials are SR. Once I select this option, always use these values regardless of sign into Office. Whatever I do now is going to use this name. So it's not going to use my online Microsoft name. It's going to use this name that I enter here. And what's important here is to note that this name is going to be used in other Microsoft Office programs also. So if I use PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Access, this name will be used as my username in those programs as well. Okay, so that's something that you want to know in the back of your mind for exam purposes or otherwise. Okay, so let's say I want to change this. Simply check this box and I click OK. OK again. And now if I make change to any of this, let's say I want to make the word bank bold, and boom, it shows my name that I've just set under options. Another way to get to these options where I can change my name is go to File, Options, and it brings me the same Word dialog box. So a couple of ways. You can do it to File, or you can do it directly from your tracking options. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of here. Okay, what change do we see? We see a red and a blue. Okay, so red was changed by my earlier name, and the blue version now Word says, well, wait a minute here. Is the new author, is a different author, use a different name, so I'm going to color it differently. Okay, then you can set these color options under advanced options that we'll see in a moment. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how to view these track changes. So for instance, if I go up to my tracking group again, right now I have displayed all markup option, which means I can see everything on my document, all the changes that I made. If I need to see just a simple markup, it will show me the entire document and only the line on the left in red, which shows that there are some changes. Okay, I can also take a look at no markup. So if I just want to keep making changes, but I don't want to see all these lines and comments and so forth, I can select this option, or I can see the original document, okay, with no changes at all. Notice here what's important is that even though I'm seeing the original document, that does not mean that this document does not contain any changes. Okay, so this document does contain all the changes, and the only way to get out of this document is either to accept these changes or reject these changes that I've made. Okay, so just because you see the original document doesn't mean that it doesn't have any changes. Okay, so this does have changes. Okay, back to our all markup. Another way to quickly change the view is by looking at these lines on the left side outside the margin. And here's my margin, so it's on the left side of the margin. I can also take my cursor and click on any of these lines, and it will show me it'll hide whether simple markup or all markup. Okay, so notice how it changes here. So a couple of ways you can change the view as to how you view the document. We can also change the settings of this shortcut. Okay, so for example, let me go back to our tracking group options, change tracking options. I can go to advanced options. Here, let me make it in the middle. Changed lines options tells me that right now I've set it as an outside border. So all these changed lines would show outside my border, or showing outside my border. If I need to view it on the right border, and notice how Word displays preview for me, all I have to do is just select the right border option and click OK. And notice my lines are now on the right side of the border. And it serves the same purpose. Just click to hide and click to show. All right, next thing I'm going to show you is how to work with comments. So under our comments group up in the ribbon, this is a very nice way to work with Word 2013 and keep track of various comments that you make. So for instance, if I need to put a comment here somewhere, implementation problems, okay? So I'm just gonna insert a comment here after problems. I go up to my new comment and insert a comment simply, and Word inserts a comment for me. Okay, so the powerful feature that Word 2013 here has, that I can insert as many comments as I want, and Word keeps track of each of these comments within the same box. Okay, so same balloon keeps track of all my comments that I made regarding this particular word problems or any other words that I select. Okay, so for instance, if I need to insert a comment, please make this bold. Okay, oops, bold. Okay, and I've inserted a comment here. So let's say I want to insert another comment here. So I just simply within my comment box, I can insert a new comment. Also make this italic. Okay. So a very nice way, a powerful feature in Word 2013 is that it keeps track of comments within the same box as you work with the changes within these documents. Okay, the reviewing pane is just how you want to view all these changes that you made. So for example, if I bring up my vertical view on the left side of the screen, you'll see that Word shows me that I've made 6 revisions in total. I've deleted 1 text, and I've made 3 formatting changes, and I've inserted 2 comments. And below here details out as to what changes have been made, which are essentially the same as on the right side of the screen. But this is a step-by-step way or a sequential manner where you can see all the changes. So it's a good way to also take a look at while you're reviewing these documents and keep track of the changes. So I can close this, and I can always bring it back up when I go to my review vertical or horizontal pane. If I want to see it horizontally, it displays on the bottom of my screen. Okay, so we've taken a look at some of these options here. Again, if I don't wish to see comments, for example, I can uncheck this box and Word is going to hide the comments. So again, just working with options as to how I want these changes to be displayed. All right, let's move on to a little bit more advanced options here. A couple of other things that I want to show you is how you can simply set various options in Word, how to track changes. So for instance, notice how when I delete text, deleted this text, for example, how it shows as strike through. Okay, so for instance, if I want to have all my deleted text or whatever text I delete to be shown as a number sign, okay, for example. So I just select the number sign, click OK, and let's say I want to delete the combined documents, and notice how it displays a number sign for me. So just different options, the way you want it to be. Sometimes working with large documents or a lot of editing, you may want to use smaller options like placing a number sign, which would imply that this text was deleted. If it's a small document, you can use a strike through so users can see. So it just depends on the environment that you're working with within Microsoft Word 2013. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of more advanced options here that may be very, very helpful when you work with tracking changes. So for instance, here one of the options is track moves. So for example, if I move text from one area to the other, or one line to the next, or one paragraph to the other paragraph, Word is going to use the double strike through for the moved from text, and the moved to text will be displayed as double underline. And the color is set by author, which is blue in this case for myself, for the new name, for my new display name here. Okay. So let's see how that's done. So I'm just going to leave this option, double strike through and double underline for now. And again, you can change any of these options the way you want them to be, double underline, underline, italic, and so forth. Okay. Okay, so I click OK. Let's say I want to change, I want to move, for example, this sentence. Okay, so I'm going to highlight it. The shortcut of highlighting a sentence in Word is holding down your control key and clicking on the sentence. Okay, so a couple of pointers here for you. If you need to select a word, for example, the word first, if I double click, it's going to select the word for me. Okay, if I click 3 times, it's going to select the paragraph for me. Okay, but how do you select just a sentence? You hold down the control key on your keyboard and click once on any sentence that you would like to select, just like this. Okay, so a couple of tips I wanted to show you. Very, very handy when you're working with documents or large documents. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna highlight this text, which I did, and simply drag it to end of this paragraph. Okay, and notice how Word simply changed the double strike through to underline, and that's how the options are set in my tracking options. Okay, so very powerful feature, tracking changes. You can work with them. You can set all kinds of different options the way you want them to be. So once you have these changes, how do we accept them or reject them? So let's say the user made some changes, sent you the document, and now you're looking at it, okay? You're reviewing the document. In our changes group, we have options such as accept the changes or reject the changes, okay? And previous next is simply will take you from one change to the next, okay? So let's say I'm reviewing the document. My first change I'd like to accept, which is Asian Development Bank. I simply click accept and accept the change for me. Okay? I can go to my next change and Word highlights my next change. This is something that I deleted. Okay, so if I like to accept it, Word automatically moves to the next change. If I like to reject this change and I don't want this to be italic, I can click reject and it will default to the standard text the way it was earlier. So I hope this clarifies the setting tracking options. So let's take a short quiz just to make sure that we have our concepts pinned down before we move to our next lecture. All right, next lecture is about preparing documents for review. Continuing on, moving forward, we saw earlier how to track changes within a document. In this particular tutorial, I'll show you how to restrict editing. Many times, or only in rare cases, you're likely to want to share a document and let any other user work with it, by changing the formatting, adding or deleting content, inserting graphics, and other modifications to the document. Documents that do contain important data or that you plan to use as the focus of a report, presentation, or your research paper can be protected before you share them. So in this tutorial, we'll take a look at how to restrict the types of changes users can make to the document, how you can specify who can edit a document and mark sections or paragraphs and so forth. So a very powerful feature about restricting editing within our document. So let's take a look at how to work with restricting a document. Let me open up our original document here, just some sample random text, and let me close this for now. Okay, so here's our document, and we've seen how to track changes. We'll take a look at how we can restrict editing of certain paragraphs or the document or certain lines or however you want to set this up. Our restricting option is available under the Review tab. Notice there's a restricting group up on the ribbon here. Here we can restrict or limit how much users or other users can edit and format the document. There are certain areas within your document, such as quotations or certain tables, certain important information that you do not want any user to edit or even accidentally change. You can restrict that part. So let me bring this up, click on Restrict Editing, and it brings up my editing options, my restriction options, the way I can set it to be. And I can choose from option 1, 2, and 3. Each one gives me certain options. So for instance, if I wish to, let's say, the second paragraph, and I don't want any user to change this paragraph. Okay, I don't want any changes made to this paragraph, no bold, no italic, no font, no nothing. All they can do is just type in, right? They can make the changes, they can type in, but they cannot do any formatting to this particular paragraph. So as an example, we'll take a look at how we do this. So going to back to my restrict editing options, I can limit the formatting to a selection of styles. So all I have to do is just check this box and click on Settings, which brings up the Formatting Restrictions dialog box. Here I can limit the formatting to a selection of styles. So for instance, the check styles are currently allowed, and it's a comprehensive list, and Word automatically allows everything. So right now, I can do anything within this document, make any changes, do whatever, enter any kind of style, text, headings, tables, grids, and so forth. I have 3 options here. All, which is by default. Recommended minimum. If I select this, click on this option, Word 2013 tells me, okay, well, here's the recommended minimum that Word wants you to have for restriction purposes. So Word is going to restrict the user from entering, let's say, a table of contents or article sections. If I go down, the user would not be able to work with grid tables and so forth. Okay, so here's the recommended minimum. If I click on none, this means that user cannot change anything within this document. So nothing at all. No formatting is allowed in this document. So since I've selected this paragraph that I want to restrict only, I will allow option for, let's say, body text. Okay, so nothing else is checked. The only option I've checked here is just the body text. So what this means is that the user is just going to be able to type in information, enter information, but not able to edit or do any formatting. I can also allow certain cases auto formats to override formatting restrictions, or I can block theme or scheme switching or block quick style sets. Okay, so style sets is something that we'll take a look at a little later. So right now I've just restricted. I would like to restrict the user and only allow the user to enter the body text within this paragraph. So again, I've highlighted the paragraph. I go up to my formatting restrictions. I select the option that I want to limit, and I click OK. Word asks me, this document may contain formatting or styles that aren't allowed. Do you want to remove them? Sure, we remove them for now. And I've limited the formatting restriction. This first step is to identify the paragraph that I want to limit and the options that I want to choose or allow. In the second step, I can say allow only this type of editing in the document. And I can also have exceptions, such as who I can allow to change, who I cannot. So right now it's everyone. Or I can select other users. Find next region this user can edit, or show all regions, or remove all editing permissions for this user. So I'm going to restrict this now for everyone, unless I have more users on the network, if I'm in a network environment within my company. So if I click on more users, I can enter the domain name, username, or the email addresses to restrict. So whatever email address I use, it's going to restrict this. So if I, for example, I use info@ and I click OK, and it brings me a list. So I can select, well, I would like to restrict or allow this user also to make some changes to this paragraph, or not make changes to this paragraph, or everyone. So let's say I want to restrict this option to everyone. And my third option is setting enforcement. So once I've selected who I would like to allow and not allow, I can say yes, start enforcing protection. Okay, so as soon as I do this, Word says, okay, well, give me a password. Okay, set a password for this document. Or use user authentication, where owners can remove document protection if they want to. So I like to give it a password, so I'm just going to give it a password here. So I want to make the right password. Okay, so once I click OK, notice what Word does. It shows me that this particular paragraph is now restricted. I can only add text, but I cannot make anything bold. So if I go up to my Home tab, notice everything is gone. I cannot use any of these options. There's no bold, there's no italic, there's no underline, no formatting options whatsoever. And the only text that I have in styles is the normal. So notice there's no styles anymore, because I've only restricted this document to be for everyone to use just the normal font, which I just wrote. So this is a good way to restrict editing for your documents the way you want to be, for all users to have. So here I cannot edit, I cannot bold, I cannot do anything. I'm now restricted. Okay. Similarly, I can highlight these paragraphs and restrict editing for this user and change the restricting options. So I'll go back to my review, restrict editing, and here again this paragraph is restricted. Notice how it allows me to not change anything. Okay, but here on this line I can not do anything. So this document is protected from unintentional editing. You may only review this region. So I cannot change any of this, I cannot delete any of this text. Okay, cannot cut copy. The only part I can do is make changes to this. So I can only change this paragraph. So a good way to restrict editing, folks. Okay, so I hope this helps. If I want to stop this protection, I click on Stop Protection, enter my password, click OK, and I'm back. And notice my formatting is back, my styles are back. I can do whatever I want with this document. So I can uncheck this box now. It tells me if you want to make changes to the document protection. Word will ignore all the exceptions of the document. Yes. And if remove, I'll remove the limit styles, and I'm back to my original document. Okay, so I hope this helps. Work with the restricting editing option. Quick recap. Go up to Review tab. Under Ribbon, Restrict Editing. Okay, and we'll take a look at 3 options of how to restrict your documents in ZipTrack. So I hope this helps. Let's take a quick quiz and move on to our next lecture. In this lecture, we'll take a look at how to work with different versions of documents and how to delete versions of the same document. And also we'll take a look at how to inspect documents. So a couple of things we did take a look at earlier regarding the document inspector or inspecting documents, but we'll take a look at some of the additional features that Word has to offer. But first, what do I mean by versions of documents? So let me just show you how that works. Okay, I'm going to open up my original document here. I've been working with that sample text, and this just contains just a heading and a couple of paragraphs, so no big deal. Okay, so once I've opened this document, for example, let me make some changes to this document. So I'm going to make this part, let's say, bold. Okay, so I'm going to make it bold, and let's say I'm done making my changes. Okay, so I made this bold. I want to underline this part, and so forth. All right, the way Word works is Word saves sort of all these changes that you made. Even though if I don't save this document, when I close it, Word is going to remember it, okay, as a version of document. So for example, right now, if I click on File and go to my Backstage view, under Versions is where I can see whether I have any versions of this document that I made any changes earlier, okay? So for instance, there are no previous versions of this file. Okay, and the reason why is because I opened this document and I just made this current changes. Okay, so there is no version right now. It's the current version that I'm working with. Let me demonstrate that. Let's close this document and ask me to save changes. And let's say no, I don't want to save changes. So I'm back to my main document here. So I'm minimize this. Let me open it up again, the same document that I made changes to, but I did not save those changes. Once I open this document, notice my changes are gone because I obviously did not save those changes. Let me see what happens to the versions option when I go to my file, and then boom, this time I see that today at this time when I close without saving, there is a version that Word saved for me. So if I right click my mouse button on this version area, I can either open this version, I can delete this version, or I can compare it with my current version. So let's see what happens when I open this version. So when I open this version, Word 2013 is automatically going to open this version for me, will show me the changes that I made, but I did not save them. Okay, so very, very powerful feature. So if you don't save any changes, but you still want the version back, you can do it. It also allows us to compare the two versions or restore this version. So instead of having you type again or bold again and underline again and make a bunch of other changes, you can restore this and Word will automatically restore this version for you. If you wish to compare, which we will do in this example right now, so if I click on compare, Word is going to compare the two versions and give you the track changes. Okay, so it's going to tell me that, hey, I made this bold in one version, and I underlined looking back over bank support in the earlier versions. So here I have an option to either accept the changes or reject the changes the way I want it to be. So if I accept the changes, Word is going to accept all the changes, and it's going to say there aren't any comments or track changes in your document. All right, okay, fine. So here, I'm back to my document. Okay, so a very powerful feature in Word where you can compare two versions of documents and be able to see if you want to work with it. It's found under File and Versions. And notice once I've accepted the changes, I've merged the two documents together, Word tells me that there are no previous versions of this file. If there were, all I have to do is right click and then choose the right option, whether I want to delete the version, compare, merge, or whatever, open it, store it. All right, the next feature I want to talk about here a little bit more is the inspect document. Here again, we can inspect our document to see the metadata and make sure that our document is clear from some of the personal names or author names and other things. So let's click on Inspect Documents. Word asks me before I use the document inspector, do I wish to save the changes? Well, not at this point. I'm just going to take a look at the document inspector. And here are my options again. What do I want Word to inspect within this document? So I'm going to have all these options selected and click Inspect. And Word is going to tell me that there are some properties regarding this document that I can remove, or I can leave them as is, okay, for now. And let's say I'm going to remove them all, and I can reinspect or click Close. So this setting that automatically removes properties and personal information when the file is saved. So let me go back. This time I'm going to insert a header. Okay, so I'm just going to insert a header. And the way I inserted this header is simply I double-clicked on the header area. Now, I could have done this from the menu bar, menu option, also under View, Header, and Footer, but this is just a shortcut. Okay. All right, let me go back to my Inspect document again, and I'm going to see if there are any issues with this document at all. So once I click Inspect Document, it asks me again, do you wish to save this document before beginning the document inspector? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to run the Inspect option again. And notice this time it finds the headers and footers. Okay, because I inserted a header and Word says, well, wait a minute here, I've inspected this document and I've found this header. What do you want to do with it? You want to remove it? You want to leave it? What do you want to do? So if I say remove all, Word is going to say, okay, it's going to remove all the headers. Click Close, go back to my document, and notice my header is now removed. So a very powerful feature working with document versions and document inspector. So if you're working with large sets of documents, complex documents, which contains tables, figures, works, graphics, you can work with these two features. It will help you identify and take a lot of pain away from you while you're working with Word 2013. So I hope this helps practice, and let's take a short quiz. Let's take a look at, in this lecture, how to marking your documents as being final and read-only. We'll also take a look at how to work with some of the password protecting your document. So two aspects to this lecture. Let me show you how both of them work. So I'm going to open up my sample document here, back to our original document. Here it is. Let's say I'm done editing this document. I'm just going to do some editing here, formatting perhaps. And once I'm done, I can go up to my File tab and then take a look at under Protect Document. This is where I can control what types of changes people can make to this document. And under Protect Document option, I have Mark as Final, so it tells everyone that the document is final and makes it read-only, so they cannot make changes right away. I can also encrypt this with a password. Word of caution here, there's no way in Word to find out passwords if you forget a password, okay, once you protect your document. So keep in mind that you must remember your password, okay? Otherwise, there's no other way to get your document back. And encryption simply scrambles the content, so you can't really make sense out of things. We did take a look at restricting editing features in our previous lecture. Strict access, you can do that. by granting access to other people, but in this case you need to have access to the rights management servers before you can use this option. And finally, under Protect Document, the option is Add a Digital Signature. You can obtain a digital signature from one of the Microsoft partners and then be able to sign your documents electronically. All right, let's go back to our Mark as Final option. So under the Protect Document feature, Mark as Final. If I click on Mark as Final, Word will tell me this document will be marked as final and then saved. So I click OK. It gives me a warning message. This document has to be marked as final to indicate that editing is complete, and this is the final version of the document. And once it's final, the status property is set to final, and typing, editing, and proofing are turned off. Okay, so you can recognize that the document is marked as final when the Mark as Final icon is displayed in the taskbar. Okay, so you can have this option to not show it again, but for this purpose, I had it set up so that it does show this option. So when you get it, you know what to do. So click OK, and this document has been marked as final as discourage editing. So if I go back to my document, notice on my status bar, I'll have a message displayed, and author has marked this document as final to discourage editing. So in this case, if for example I need to type something, do something, make something bold, I cannot do that. So for example, I highlight this, I go to home, notice everything is disabled, right? So I cannot make any changes to the document. The only thing I can do is make a copy, but that'll bring me back. And unless and until I choose edit anyway, which if I click, only then I'm able to work with the document. And in this case, once I save this document and I go back to my Protect Document, Mark as Final option, notice it's not because I edited it. So it's a good way to protect it when you're making the document final again. So here's the rerun of the same exercise on making this document as final. Click OK, and my document is now marked as final. If I close this document here, and let me reopen the same document again, and it will show me that this is marked as final, okay, unless and until I choose to edit. Okay, so there's one way to marking your documents, letting everyone know that it's a read-only document and they can only read it. But how do I protect it? Let's say I want to put a password to this document. In the Protect Document, I can encrypt the password. Simply select password, type in a password. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Click OK, re-enter it, OK again, and now my document is password protected. All I have to do is just save. And now when I open the same document again, it'll ask me for a password. And if I don't know the password, or if I type an incorrect password, Word is going to say the password is incorrect and you need to find your password. So again, word of caution, you ought to remember the password when you open this document. So let me do this again. This time I'll enter the correct password, and I click OK, and Word will open the document for me. So a couple of things that we looked at: how to protect your documents and how to mark your document as final. Okay, two helpful advanced features. If you're working with large sets of documents or with multiple authors, both of these features are very, very handy. I hope you like this tutorial, and let's take a short quiz. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to work more with managing and tracking changes within your document. We've covered this in the earlier lecture, but in this lecture we're going to do it again, and I'll show you some additional functionality and features. And it's important because when you're working with large sets of documents or lengthy research papers, books, ebooks, articles, you need to be able to know these features well so that you can save a lot of time in working with these. So let me open up our original document, password protected, from our last exercise. Before I begin, let me first clear the password. So remember how we got to our password protect under File, Protect Document, click to the password, and in this case, all I have to do is delete this password, click OK, and now
So go back to my document, save it. My document is not password protected anymore. All right. Tracking changes. Recall, track changes under the review tab, and here's our tracking group. Here we can accept or reject changes in the changes group, and we also worked earlier on the comment group as well. One thing I'll show you that let's say, for instance, if I change this sentence here, bold, and well, it's not going to happen because what I did not do is I did not click track changes, so we're not going to keep track of this. Okay? So let me undo this. First and foremost, track changes option has to be highlighted. Okay, and then I highlight my paragraph, make it bold, outside. So Word keeps changes, tracks changes of my editing that I just did to this document. Okay, here's what I want to show you. Something new here. You can lock these track changes. Okay, so for example, if I lock tracking, I can enter a password, same thing. Okay, and I can confirm the password, and I click OK. And this is not really a security feature. It doesn't protect the document from malicious malware or something like this. It only helps you encrypt the document, unscramble the content, and makes it read-only for other users. So now I've locked the track changes option. So if I, let's say, bold it or something, my document will be password protected. So if I save this document, close this document, and let's open it again. I have some changes here, which I can see from my right change screen option here. I can see the changes, but I cannot really change it. So I can either edit it, that's the only way I can do to get to this document. So here, if I go back to my edit document, under the review tab, notice how the track changes option is not highlighted anymore. And once I hover over the track changes option, it tells me that this command is currently disabled. To enable it, I need to enter a password, essentially. So if I go back to my track changes and I would like to unlock the tracking, I have to enter a password. So now unlock the tracking. So a good way to make sure that if you are tracking changes, or if any other user is tracking changes and making changes to this document, you want to be able to make sure that they can only change, and those changes are to be reflected on the document so you can see it, what they did. So a good way to lock the tracking option. So I hope this was a recap of our earlier lecture on tracking options, with the exception that we took a look at how to lock those changes so that you don't allow users to keep editing. In fact, you only want them to track changes, and that's all you want to be able to see. So, all right, let's move to our quiz. Managing comments is our next lecture. Comments provide a simple way to review and annotate a document. So for example, you can use comments to highlight text or other content that needs to be revised or reformatted. You can seek clarification, describe decisions to other reviewers of the document, or simply you want to be able to provide context or instructions for users of the document. So it's a very handy way to working with comments. And how Word marks each comment that's inserted in a document does so with the name of the user who inserted it. Okay, so this way you can keep track of who the editor is for this particular paragraph or line or formatting. Let's take a look at how we can work with managing comments. So I'm going to open my earlier document. This is the original review document that we've been working with. And let me track changes. Remember, go back to review tab, track changes, and let's say I'd like to do some changes here. Okay, and I'm going to insert a comment also. Please make this bold. All right, so I have a small comment, simple comment that I made in this after the end of this paragraph. How do we work with comments? Okay, you've seen that earlier that we can enter a comment within a comment. So for example, if I'm done here, I can go back to my new comment by inserting a new comment. Also, make this italic. Okay. All right, if I right click within the comment box, I can delete this comment, I can mark this comment done, or I can reply to this comment. So if I click on reply to this comment, I can add further. And this way you can keep track of, by entering more comments, I can simply right click and mark this comment is done. And as soon as I do that, notice how it dims the comment. So I know that this particular user has completed this task. Okay? So a good way to take a look at and keep track of changing options. Okay? So insert a new comment here again. And I can also say highlight this text, okay? And I can do the same thing. I can say delete, reply, mark this comment as done. I can change the font if I want. So if I need to change the font to size 12, for example, I can do that. Okay? So it will change my font size to 12. So add another line. Okay, there's another comment here, and I can do the same thing to this. Mark as done. So a good way to work with comments. You can take a look at working with comments. A very handy way to make sure that all the changes within a document are being tracked. And play with other options also, like paragraph font. I've seen the comments area. You can enter a new comment here. Or you can use the comments group to do the same. In earlier versions, you had to enter comments separately, but in Word 2013, it basically enhances the same comment box, and you can kind of go back and forth, adding information to the same comment box. Okay, so I hope this helps. Let's take a short quiz.